Thank you for joining us for today's Magic in the Room. Before we start our episode, I want to ask for your help spreading the word about Magic in the Room. If you listen to the podcast and think it's helpful, would you please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen? Once you leave a review, take a screenshot and send it to info@purposeandperformancegroup.com, and we'll send you a free Magic in the Room hat. Reviews are one of the best ways for people to find us, so we're thankful for the help. Now enjoy today's episode.
Magic is found in every room, where people connect over a shared purpose. In this weekly podcast, Luke, Hannah and Chris explore the role of purpose, courage, mindset and culture in every leader's quest for transformational performance.
Welcome to Magic in the Room. That's the first time I've ever gotten to say that. So welcome to Magic in the Room. I'm Ben West.
I'm Bob Schooley.
And I'm Chris Province. Ben, congratulations. It's kind of like the old Saturday Night Live intro, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I'm hosting for the first time or something.
Well, that's
right.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Awesome.
Get a jacket or like a watch or something.
A hat.
A hat. There you go.
Free hat. If you want a free hat,
Yeah.
leave us a review on iTunes. We'll send you a free hat. Little plug.
Love
Right.
it. Love it.
Yeah. Awesome, man. This is, it's this time of year is always, it's unique, right? I feel like we start getting in the holidays. There's some additional stressors, but man, what a wonderful time to like take our inventories.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a lot today as we approach Thanksgiving here. I want, the theme, I want to talk about gratitude a lot. But just when I think about this time of year, I also think about personal inventories, because this is that look back, look forward time of year. Mm-hmm. And I want to know from you guys, do you have a set process that you use every year? How do you do it? What sort of time do you carve out? What is your process for that? What's your method?
Yeah, I can go first, and kind of short answer is I don't have a big process, but what I try to do, this is when I'm at my best, I do like quarterly planning. It's kind of for myself. And it's around gratitude type things. It's around goal setting. It's around kind of assessing just how I'm doing at keeping up the practices that I need to keep up. And so quarterly is kind of my sequence. And then I don't ever do kind of like New Year's resolutions. I'm not into it,
Same.
But I do try to think about, okay, where have I come from for this year? What am I grateful for? And then in this coming year, kind of what's my focus? I don't give it like a go to the gym twice a week kind of thing, but it is like, what's something that I'm focused on and working on? So that's kind of broadly my process. And yeah, at my best, I do it. Often I don't, but that's the journey we're on, is learning to do those things that we have to do consistently all the time.
Yeah, I think for me, not a big, like Ben, not a big process, but I'm kind of like a beginning of the year guy. There is a little bit of that kind of kicks off my cadence, and I love an exercise. I call it less or more, less and more. Mm-hmm. It's kind of easy for me to come up with some things that I want to do less of,
Mm-hmm.
Like drinking pop or too much sugar or whatever. But then I've always I pair that with, okay, what do I want to do more of? So like, it's a simple example, but like less pop, more water. Mm-hmm. So and then it becomes kind of a competition. I've got a way of kind of measuring it. So that's worked well for me. I kind of, and it's not just little trivial stuff. It's also some the big stuff and
Yeah.
more important stuff too.
I love that. Less and more. I'm going to steal that one. I
Good.
like it.
Go.
Yeah.
Chris, what about you?
Well, I think it's a big lift for me, because I focus on the doing and trying to measure, like, is each behavior every day advancing or discounting from my purpose? And so day to day, I try to take measure of how is everything I have today going to contribute or discount from what I'm trying to accomplish. But then, end of year, I revisit everything. It's, I've got a personal strategic plan that says, here's my purpose, here are my commitments, and I have to measure, like, how am I doing? like longitudinally, when I look at the truth of my story for the last 12 months, how am I doing? Am I good with my current trajectory, or do I need to intervene on my behaviors to write a different story?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's, I'm a Steve Laswell guy, and the best predictor of future behavior can be found in the truths of our story. So if I can be honest with myself about the things that I've done or the behaviors that I've prioritized over the last year that have established my trajectory, I can make a really honest assessment and say, am I satisfied with where I'm going? Or do I need to behave differently? How are other people leaving my presence? Do my wife and kids know that they're loved every day? Am I connecting with my extended family? Am I being curious enough? Am I doing remarkable things for other people? Like, I've got to take an honest inventory of that. And so I evaluate. And then as I bucket the behaviors that I want to see more of, so I kind of run this whole less and more. I'm really doing less. I'm really trying to call out the behaviors and relationships that discount from me achieving my purpose. That always has to stay center. Yep. And, there's this book called Thick Face, Black Heart. It's kind of on some Eastern philosophies, but it speaks very honestly to like once you identify what your purpose is, be ruthless about achieving it. And that's why I take this hard line about there are only two behaviors that I illustrate, ones that advance my purpose and ones that discount from it. There is no middle. And I am going to be ruthless about achieving or advancing my purpose. So as I take this inventory, relationships and behaviors that fail to advance my purpose get eliminated. And it has to be replaced with more of the behaviors that are giving me positive results and where I'm seeing achievement. So that's my process, and I'll spend, about a week just kind of refining that. And during that process, I get to have the opportunity to be grateful, to sit in that spot and think, man, what a journey this has been. And I think about my relationship with you, Ben, and you, Bob, and say, okay, where am I falling short? Where do I need to put in? And it's just a good spot. And so what I'll do, I'll take all the more behaviors, and usually they start to, like any data set, they're going to kind of center at some point. And that's what I theme that next year off of. So, I've had a year of breakthrough. I've had a year focused on intention. I've had a year focused on growth. I've had a year focused on preparation. It's just that theme of the year is really based on what I need to be doing more of. And it just kind of keeps my focus. And I remember on our year of intention, I think we ended up in a workshop with Bob wearing a flip chart sheet that said "be intentional" on it. But I mean, it's that kind of thing. It's like we carry it through. And so, as I think about next year, just reading, if I read the tea leaves a little bit about what's happening in the market, what's the workforce look like, what's happening with the economy, it's a mess and nobody knows anything. And if they tell you that they do, they're a liar. So I fully accept that we're getting ready to enter a year of transition, and I'm not going to fight it. This is where I had a great conversation with Sam Dutro a couple weeks ago. And it's just, man, enter the dragon. Wherever the energy is going, go be me in that space and create the best possible outcome, because I'm going to get better results by going with the energy flow and being me and looking for opportunities to redirect than fighting the entire flow. than trying to push sand against the ocean. These big systems work in such a way, if you try to fight them, like if I try to fight it, I'm the only one that suffers. Right? And I just have a life full of suffering and not understanding like why I can't accomplish anything. Like as we move through these transitions, I think there's going to be a lot of energy flowing a lot of different ways, and we got to go with it and figure out how to make that work for us, not fight it, because the system is huge. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Ben?
Yeah. I mean, as I've been kind of, coming to the end of the year and thinking about my next year, one of the things that I think is kind of related to this that's been coming up for me is just being willing to be faster. Like, I tend to be a planner. I want to kind of like get everything how it's supposed to be before I do it. And then, it's not perfectionism exactly, but I kind of, take my time to do things. And so I think as a result, there's oftentimes in times of change, it's not that I resist the change, but I don't move fast enough to keep up with it. And so I think it relates to this in a lot of ways for me. It's, how do we develop products faster? How do we maybe even do podcasts faster? Like whatever it is. How do we do it faster? Still with intention. Like I don't want to do things unintentionally. That's against my nature. Like that's not going to happen. But how do I find that that's something that pairs with intention to make it so that things go faster? And I think it relates to what you're saying, just in that sense, like we can't control the whole system. We can't change the whole system, but we can change like what we can control. And if we're going to do that, like we have to do it, not just plan it forever, write the script forever, but you have to do it. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
Hey, Chris, I like what you shared your process. And it kind of made me think a little bit about like my process of less and more, is a little inward focused. When I think of like our mindset, I'm kind of thinking, what do I personally want to do less and more of? I love what you're doing with your process because it's got a much more outward orientation to it. I love the fact that you take an inventory of all the roles and the relationships that you have and the responsibilities that you have and the things so I love, that's going to help me. I'm going to tweak my process to think, okay, yeah, there's some inward things I need to clean up, or maybe opportunities, but there's also a lot of outward types of relationship role type of things that I could do less and more of. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think, I started this process, as your student. I think you said, build a personal strategic plan. And then, it's just, every year, it continues to evolve and iterate. And, that piece about role clarity is something that, I did it for a couple of years. And, I just like, man, I don't have anything to measure it against. Like, how am I doing right now? Well, in what way? Like this esoteric existence of good. Like, I'm doing good. I'm doing great. Well, really, I'm not. Like, as a son, maybe my parents are getting divorced. Like, I'm not doing good. Okay, but what role do I fill? Right? How do I fulfill my role as a good son? Two parents that are going through a divorce. Okay, how am I doing as a father? How am I doing as a student? How am I doing as an educator or as a coach? I've got to set, like, okay, here's how I'm doing today. Here's what I want it to look like next year. And it's painting that mental picture of here's what success looks like within this role. And when I paint that picture this year and I go through my commitments next year, I should be able to come to this space and say, I have advanced my performance in my role as a father, brother, coach, son, what have you.
Cool.
So, yeah, it's it's a little bit of heavy lifting, but we are getting ready for the year of Enter the Dragon. So we're going to bring some Bruce Lee into our lives. But also it is Thanksgiving, right? And I think the biggest thing about that is finding all the reasons to give thanks. And so much gratitude is, I think it's some form of self-recognition, right? When we're talking about things that we're thankful for, it's recognizing those things and signaling to ourselves that these things are important. And I think it makes us more resilient. It gives us an idea of, why life matters, and just a lot of the beautiful things. But I think there's two different types. There's the type of gratitude that we have when we reflect on something. There's a type of gratitude that we have more like in the moment. So I want to hear both your guys' takes on this. So, and just share with me, like in any moment, pick any moment from the last week or moments and say, in the moment, I was grateful for this, this, and this. And then give me a little look at your 2021 as we exit this space and tell me what you're thankful for as you reflect on this last period of time. And I think the takeaway I want our listeners to get is this gratitude we have when we make space to reflect and look at the truth in our story versus the gratitude we can have in any given moment, both of which offer value, and I think offers value to leaders to practice both as well.
Yeah, I wrote down a couple of just kind of gratitude things. And when I think about that in the moment and then upon reflection, I even just, one of them that I wrote down was just kind of around family and my kids getting older and kind of some of the joys that come with that. And so I'm even just kind of thinking about, yesterday was Halloween and my kids really like Halloween. They are definitely on the worthy side for Halloween. They love it. And, they're decorating the house and, they love standing on the porch and handing out candy. And in that moment last night, just kind of thinking about that, I think that the gratitude was really just around time, it's just a good time together. And I think that was kind of the things that were coming to my mind, as we go trick-or-treating, just getting to spend that time together as a family. When I kind of make that a little bit broader and kind of reflect on the last year of what kind of this growing family kind of means to me, I think a lot of it is just around seeing my kids starting to embody values that I care about as well. And they're 4 and 6. So obviously it's they're growing. It's not perfect or anything like that, but seeing them just start kind of caring about other people, thinking about, the things that our family kind of cares about. I have a lot of gratitude around that. And I don't think I would, like you said, Chris, I don't think I would put that together without some reflection on big picture. What does this all mean? And so, yeah, that's something that I'm grateful for in the last year is just seeing my kids growing, learning, and starting to embody some things that I think are important, including, standing on the porch and handing out candy and finding joy in that act of giving some candy out to random people that walk up to our house.
That's cool.
So yeah, that's kind of my first one that I thought of as you were talking through that, Chris.
Awesome. What about you, Bob?
This will sound corny, but I'm thankful for Thanksgiving. I just love this season. There's just a lot of goodness. I always think of family, like you've been. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. I love the fall. I don't know what it is about this season, but it's just really feels good. And then I'm sorry, but I got to throw football in there too. So,
right.
It's kind of everything's heating up. So that's kind of fun. But, like you said, Ben, just kind of in the moment, for me, we recently, my wife and I hosted a little get together. It was kind of like a Halloween get together. No big deal, but Susan's mom came over. She's 88 years old. Our grandsons came over. They're 3 and 1.5, and so we got quite the spectrum. And I remember just kind of, it was weird. I kind of was sitting in the room, but I kind of felt like I was pulling back and could see everything. And I was just like, I really took this for granted. And we haven't been able to gather nearly as much as we would have these last 18 to 24 months. And I just was like, wow, this is so cool. It's nothing. I mean, we just kind of had a nice little lunch, and we were, just hanging out, I guess. And I just was like, boy, this is really good. This is really kind of what it's all about. And then from a work perspective, when I think back, and I kind of more, like you said, Chris, reflect over this last year. We decided as a team to do a pivot and kind of do a deep dive when it comes to Igniter mindset. Mm-hmm. And boy, that it's been a pleasure, a joy. It's been very fulfilling. It's been very eye-opening for me personally to kind of better understand my mindset. I just very, very thankful. Even if it's not some gigantic box office success or whatever, I'm so thankful to have been to get to work with you and some of the work we're doing with our clients. I mean, I hate to be this might sound lame, but it's a game changer, maybe even life changing for some of the people that we're working with. And I kind of feel that way for myself as well. So thanks that's been a fun journey.
Yeah. Well, Chris, before you go, if you don't mind, I want to kind of tie on a little bit. Like, I think part of what's interesting about gratitude is how our gratitudes can be connected, because my second one, or actually I guess it was the first one, but that I wrote down was about getting to work with you all. So Chris, I don't know, you probably don't really remember this, but it was 2 years ago, New Year's Day, when we kind of sat down. I remember we went to Mother Road Market and it was closed. We went to like Fat Phil's or something and it was closed. And then we ended up at Chipotle.
Yeah, I remember
so
that.
So yeah, 2 years ago, kind of this season, when I'd been doing some SCN work, but it was kind of the first official, like, okay, we're going to like pick a project and do it. Mm-hmm. And then you and I and Luke met, early morning coffee at Starbucks. And so like, that was kind of the introduction to this team and starting to really do some of this work together. But the thing that's connected is just like the experience of getting to work with you all and diving deeper into purpose and Igniter mindset and all of that stuff, and then getting to take that into my family and, kind of the cycle that ends up happening between those different things that I'm grateful for and how they play off of each other. And, I told you about my win when like Abraham said, "You're the best at ever because you taught me how to swing." And I'm like, growth mindset, and just like seeing that kind of cycle of how it all fits together. I think there's as an exercise, there's value in that, as a learn, but also just for me, like it kind of ups the gratitude of having things that work together and aren't so siloed that they have nothing to do with each other.
Absolutely. And that's where I would say, if I was to reflect, like the fact that we added to our team in 19 and of course 20 happened, and like everyone has made a lot of sacrifices when there's no people at work, there's no people to develop. Mm-hmm. So, executing a business model focused on people and organizational development when they're just in chaos has been an exceptional, leadership challenge. And but like the spirit of this team and how like we didn't stare at the problem, we just did the work. It's like when this is over, everybody's going to be moving jobs. Mm-hmm. Retention's going to be the issue, and like starting down the path of that line of thinking and this product set before we exited, the situation, I think was just, it's just representative of the mindset of the team and the fact that, our team is still together, everyone's still together. And how the products we work on affect me makes me want to, expand the world for our family. What are my kids being exposed to? Where do we spend our free time? When we say, we want to impact the lives of other people, it doesn't mean like just the people in our neighborhood or just the people at our school, and that's been kind of your influence on that, and, helping us see the world in a much larger way, is a direct, has a direct impact. Everyone in my family lived through COVID. I've been fortunate enough to have not lost a loved one. I know there's a lot of people that haven't been as fortunate. Things like, the kids growing up, and, Landon being a teenage, like solidly within his teenage years. And now there's this, this strange balance between what is a friend and camaraderie sort of relationship and what's still father-son, and getting to grow through that has been really interesting. The girl's getting older, having a wife that extends to me way more grace than what I could ever deserve. But her understanding as we build this thing together, and the time and resource that's required to do it. And then just kind of holistically, this idea of, being done having children. So knowing that this is what our family consists of, and as that grows together and binds and dovetails, and you get all these interactions of life, it's just fills my heart with joy, to hear the kids playing and be in that moment. But yeah, so those are things that, as I reflect over the last year, I'm really thankful for. And friends that support me along the way. Obviously, you guys know how I feel about the people that have contributed to my journey, and so that's more of the reflection activity. In the moment, I can sit here today and I can say, I am grateful to have a studio with a professional engineer, professional producer, lighting, microphones, headsets, right? Like being able to come to this place and talk about the things that matter to us. Like, I'm thankful for that in this moment. I'm thankful for this scaldingly hot black coffee to give me a little jolt after staying up the majority of the night writing my EQ scripts for later. I spent last weekend, I have a friend that's getting remarried. And he's getting married the Saturday after Thanksgiving. He said, and that's the day that we traditionally have a family get together. And I said, I can't make the wedding, but like, I'd love to meet your wife. So he's like, if you can't make the wedding, you got to meet my wife. So we've got to go where she's at. She lives in Vegas. So last weekend we went out to Vegas, and just be able to sit outside, eat chips and salsa in the middle of the day, catch up. He doesn't live here in Tulsa. He lives in Colorado. And just to catch up, and to hit that moment where, we've been friends since we were 16 years old. I don't see him but maybe once a year, but like, it's just, you hit the ground running. It's one of those relationships, and like, there's such a strong bond. And so to be thankful for the chips and salsa and the ability to connect over that. And then, Thanksgiving itself, we're going to have Meatsgiving this year. So we'll load up the smoker with a bunch of barbecue on that Saturday and feed as many people as want to come over. I love Thanksgiving too, Bob, because it is like all the best parts of Christmas, God still gets the glory, but we don't have to do any of the gifts.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just be thankful for the family, put a blessing over us all, and just spend time in fellowship together. It is my favorite holiday. And that brings me to my question of the day, and I actually stole this from Bob Schooley. But the question is, Thanksgiving isn't Thanksgiving unless we have this dish. Okay, it's just not Thanksgiving if we don't have this. What is your answer to that question?
Wow.
Yeah, for me, and I don't really know exactly the history of where this came from in my family, but it's macaroni and cheese. And I'm pretty sure that it was actually like stolen from another family maybe and got integrated into ours. It's not like a West's forever kind of tradition. I think it's from my childhood, but for some reason macaroni and cheese has to be there.
It's like a baked dish with the roux and the whole nine.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Not like Kraft. It's
Right.
Yeah. You got to do the whole thing.
Well, I was thinking more along the lines of Velveeta because it's a fancy dinner, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
no, it's the whole thing. Like,
better than Velveeta
in the big
too.
pan, in the oven, all of
Gotcha.
that. So yeah.
High labor macaroni and
Right.
cheese.
Exactly.
Well, I was going to go with one of the kind of standards, you know, like dressing. My grandmother's dressing, just unbelievable. But if I'm going to be totally honest, I got to go with the sweet potatoes with the marshmallows melted on top.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's just my sweet tooth coming out.
Yeah.
Man, it's kind of
Dessert on your entree plate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's a great way to think about it.
That's awesome. Yeah, and sweet potatoes come so many different ways, right? They've got the marshmallow kind, the pecan crumble kind, the souffle kind.
Yep.
Lots of ways to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in for both of those. I on my Thanksgiving dinner plate, you're going to see a lot of orange and yellow and not much green.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because it's all about the corn, the macaroni and cheese, the sweet potato. Again, orange and yellow good, green bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. But I'm gonna go with my mom makes this like really salty gravy that goes on the dressing, and she always has like the turkey, you know, kind of like the pulled turkey and the gravy. So it's just something about the saltiness of the gravy and the turkey bits that are in it, and she's like heavy-handed with the seasoning on the dressing, which I love. Like, there's nothing worse than bland dressing, right? So by the time you get like this really zesty dressing and the salty gravy with the turkey bits in it, like, I'm pretty much good. I'll just eat that.
Nice.
So
Sounds good to me.
Okay, at the risk of maybe creating a controversy here.
am I hearing a worthy or worthless getting ready to come out?
Well, this might kind of stir it up a little bit, but I am on a campaign, and I'd like to reach out to our audience, you know, and so I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. But I believe that pumpkin pie is not a dessert. It's a vegetable, or it should be banned from the gathering.
It's worthy or worthless.
Yeah, and I truly believe pumpkin pie, the only reason they have pumpkin pie is so you can put Cool Whip on top of it. You know, it's kind of like with French fries. You know, the only reason you have French fries is to get the ketchup.
Right.
So same thing's true with the pumpkin pie. So I'm sorry. I know that's going to ruffle some feathers. No pun intended.
Yeah.
But...
Well, we're gonna give Ben anxiety because we're doing all these questions, right? So Ben, like pumpkin pie, worthy or worthless?
For me, I like pumpkin pie.
Ben.
Yeah.
But it does. I mean, it does need to be a vehicle for whipped cream, also. Like that's definitely part of it.
Yeah.
But I do like pumpkin pie. I don't know if it's my favorite pie,
Yeah.
but I do enjoy pumpkin pie.
Pecan pie all day long, buddy.
I do like pecan pie also.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of doesn't really matter a lot to me what kind of pie it is.
Yeah.
It's probably okay.
I'm gonna go with worthless on the pumpkin pie. Man, there's just so many other better options at that table. Like, I'd rather eat turkey again, you know, than eat a slice of pumpkin
And
pie.
you don't like turkey that much.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So we're gonna say pumpkin pie worthless. Ben's outvoted. 30
Man,
days.
I guess
Next case.
All right. We'll skip pumpkin pie this year, I guess.
Hey, and you know, I got in a habit. My grandfather used to do this, and he convinced me to do it. But instead of putting gravy on top of my turkey, he would take cranberries and put it on top of his turkey. And I was like, I'm not sure about that. And he said, try it, man. So I did it, took a bite. Man, even when I make like a turkey sandwich,
Yeah.
I'll sneak in some cranberries
There
in
you
there.
go.
So
There you go. Well, I hope that everyone listening out there has a wonderful holiday season, enjoys time with, and smiles and laughs with the people that they are connected with and care about most over Thanksgiving. And if you want to talk about, you know, those end of year inventories, our processes, our methods, feel free to reach out. be more than happy to spend some time with you and just visit more about our approaches to that. And you can find us at purposeandperformancegroup.com or on LinkedIn, Facebook, any of those social channels. More than happy to connect and talk through that. But guys, thank you all so much for just sharing a little bit more about gratitude. And let's keep these things top of mind. There's always a reason to be grateful as we work our way through this thing called life and enter 2022, which we will effectively know as the enter the dragon year.
Dragon.
All right,
That's what we're headed for.
thank you all so much. Talk soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Good stuff. Happy Thanksgiving.
Magic in the Room is hosted by Chris Province, Hannah Bratteroo, and Luke Freeman, and produced by Ben West. Theme music is by Evan Grimm. Title track Fake Love available on Apple Music. And this podcast was recorded at Storycatcher Studio with video and audio editing and production support by Brad O'Hara and Alicia Crum, with inspiration, strategy and technical support by yours truly, Neil Hughes. Magic in the Room is a production of Purpose and Performance Group. You can find us at purposeandperformancegroup.com, and remember, previous episodes are available at magicintheroom.com.